everyone, it's Mike Andes. Today is a one-on-one Zoom call that I had with an owner from Augusta Lawn Care. They started their business earlier this year. They've been in business about 7-8 months. They've grown very fast, 60, 70,000 in monthly revenue. But in doing that, there's lots of new customers, and recently they've lost a few of their team members just because of natural attrition. So we're gonna be talking about a strategy, a short-term band-aid, if you will. Let's go ahead and take this a listen. This might be helpful if you ever have 5, 6, 7 people on your team and 2, 3, 4 of them you leave very quickly, and make sure you don't end up yourself back in the field.
I don't know if they're struggles or just part of the business, but the employee situation, it's kind of dwindled down a little bit further. So I took action to put some pressure on some individuals about, better performance. And I had the general manager, Brian, which I lost to. So I've lost Brian. I had another individual that walked off. And then I just had another individual that gave us 2 weeks and another one that was driving too far. So I've lost 4 people. I'm down to where I have my general manager, Chris, the one that you met, another individual we just hired a little bit ago that's maybe a little bit below the bar, and then a solid individual. So I'm really low on staff, and already can tell it from the fact that I worked most this week. I think I did almost 35 hours, and I'm falling behind on all the stuff I should be doing. And I've got Mike working 40 hours. And so the question is, do I have a culture problem? Is this just normal churn? I mean, is it, did I not focus enough on finding the right people? Or I guess that's lots of questions and lots of situational things, I guess.
Yeah, like part of it is honestly just when you grow as quickly as you have and you're adding new people, it's a tendency to not spend as much time as you should with them. But then it's also a function of they're also getting thrown into a whole bunch of new customers. Like every single week you have more new customers when you're growing that quickly. And so it also just kind of like shows all the weaknesses in training or their quality, because most damage cases, most callbacks are happening the first visit or two. And so I would say it's more of a feature than a bug when you're growing as quickly as you have. And then the second part is you just starting to determine and recognize the patterns of what good looks like for an incoming team member, right?
Sure.
So at the beginning, it's like, oh, I want them to have culture, and like those are things that are valuable and important. And then it's like, okay, well, maybe I want some of them to actually know what they're doing, because I'm growing so quickly. I need them to also be training someone else after 3 or 4 weeks, right?
Sure.
And that's really the challenge is, and I understand like the tension is like, man, I want to just keep gassing this, but then also realizing that by gassing it, you lose people because you don't have the time to spend with them.
For sure.
And so like it's tough too, because you're kind of going towards the end of your busiest season. So you're kind of trying to get like the last of it. There's a lot of opportunity, but you also know if you hired someone that could be gone in 2 or 3 months because of the off season. So it is probably the hardest time also to go through that. Sorry, I'll switch my cameras. But I would say like this is very common when you're growing as quickly as you have been.
Okay. So that's good. So now, and you already touched on it a little bit. So is the action just so far I've posted an Indeed. It's linked to Spark Hire. It's boosted. I think I upped it this week. But I had to be realistic with everybody that's coming in that this may not be a winter job, right? But also I had to be really specific that they know what they're doing when you come in, because we just don't have time to train either. So it's just going to be tough. I think that's what I got to live with, right?
Yeah. Are any of your guys hitting above base pay yet, Jordan, or not yet?
Yeah.
So
And I think we were at I think we're about 80% right now is
Oh,
what.
that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Okay, so because my thought goes to if you had 2 different ads on Indeed, one is like, hey, it is more of a cultural thing. The questions are going to be revolving much more on attitude, the ability to be trained, etc. But then having another one that's like, hey, you need to have 2 years of experience. This is gonna be a 3-year stint. You're gonna be paid very well for it, but you're gonna be coming in here and immediately within a week of learning systems, you're gonna be training someone else. When you become an owner inside of Augusta Lawn Care, you get daily masterminds and live streams with me. You get weekly office hours with your owner success manager. You get monthly one-on-one coaching from a coach, and every quarter you get together with all of Augusta Nation. This sort of camaraderie, community, and support is what you'll need take your business to the next level. If that's of interest, go to AugustaLawnCareServices.com/franchise. It's a high risk approach, but it's really the difference between you basically coasting the rest of the year versus being a still stay aggressive.
For sure.
And you're probably on those people going to be throwing away P for P, but it's rare that someone joins P for gets in anyways as a newbie and gets to P for P within the next 2 months. Like it's usually takes a few months for them to get there anyways.
For sure.
So, but by having the higher rate, you would attract the person that has the 2, 3 years of experience, can immediately step into the role, get work done, and hopefully within a week or two of just learning the systems and how things operate, train somebody else.
And do you think so? So like right now, so the one of the guys that's leaving was my highest guy. I think he was averaging like $26 an hour. The remaining individuals are probably going to bounce around that $24, $25. So I mean, knowing that they're risking P for P, I mean, is it a risk for culture to say to bring somebody in at $25 an hour on a short-term period? Or I mean, how do you manage that conversation?
Yeah, I would, if I was you, I would be looking at this like very much in the next 6 months. And that is like, I'm going to be hiring someone I'm only telling this is a 3 to 4 month gig. I'm going to pay them a higher rate. They're probably not going to hit pay above base pay, but I don't really care because I need them I'm actually thinking of them as trainers.
Mhm.
And what I'm trying to do is get two of those and then two of the like people that are willing to learn, willing to train. They will be P for P. They'll
Yeah.
be at a lower rate. And then my goal is to get 4 people, right?
And
So
then,
go ahead.
oh, sorry, I should be listening instead of
You're
talking.
fine. You're fine.
Uh, just going through my head like that, Chris that I have hired, like he could probably already jump into that role. Since he's had the business, he seems to be mirroring the quality expectations and the other things that we have. So, maybe I need to think about that differently then and not be so scared to hire somebody that isn't fully able to hit the field and be by themselves, right?
Yeah, and honestly, a lot of it, this happens a lot of times in the first year and even two, is like we always plan for new hires and they join with the expectation I'll be here forever. But if you just
Mhm.
look at the track record, they last 3 to 4 months as just like a standard. And so if someone's so all-star and wants to stay with you for a few years, you're going to move mountains to make sure that happens. But the average team member stays 3, 4, 5, 6 months. And so
Okay.
I think there's two ways of looking at. One is you go get the person that is very talented and just say, hey, this is a short window of a gig. I'm going to be overpaying market premium for this talent to come in, spend a week of training, and then immediately be training someone else. And then that person is the one that I'm actually going to invest into, try to get them above base pay. And I'm kind of thinking about them longer term, but I also know they're probably going to last 3 to 4 months. Like
Yeah.
it just is the nature of the game.
So with that in mind, then like considering how fast I'm growing, like I had to have the gas on the hiring as much as I have it on the growth of the business, though, don't I? Just having that churn is going to be part of it.
Yeah, and like I don't know what you have. Do you have a setup like a fixed fee for your marketing company right now?
Yeah.
Okay. Um, how much
No,
is like
no, they're doing a percentage of what our spend is how
okay,
they're doing it.
and there's no flat like $1,000 or anything like that?
No,
Oh, that's not bad.
yeah,
Because then it wouldn't be a horrible idea if you're falling that far behind, just to be like, okay, at least for a month, I'm going to focus on getting 4 new people, 2 skilled people, 2 less skilled folks, and then I'll be able to turn these ads back on and just let them know, like, hey, I need 1 month to kind of get my footing.
uh-huh,
And it also allows the chaos to decrease when it comes to new customers coming on. Like just the growth just creates so much more chaos when you bring on new team members. Like it's a collision course when you're like growing that fast and hiring a whole bunch of new people. That's where just operations gets blown up.
for sure. So just kind of put a pause on that, and then I can still focus on converting into winter services and
Because
Christmas
because
lights
what
and that
I
kind of
don't want
stuff.
to happen is you go for the short-term growth and then we lose out in the entire off season because you don't have the time to focus on it.
For sure.
And so I think by slowing that down, focusing on the hiring, getting 2 solid, experienced people at a higher rate that they know they're not going to go into winter, and then having 2 others that will just basically hop in the truck and learn from them over the course of the next 4 to 6 weeks. And then we can turn the ads back on and hopefully keep those more talented people. Like that would be the goal. But we've just
Yeah,
been very clear with them. Like the expectation is a 3 month gig.
for sure.
So
Okay.
you're basically hoping to pick off the people that are leaving other companies that
Yep.
don't have an off season plan.
Yep. So almost like headhunting in that case.
Yeah, and even companies like True Green, that just do chemicals, like they really fall off this time of year a little
Yeah.
earlier because they're so spring push forward their demand. So I would be really just like in your ad, be like, hey, if you've worked for another lawn care company and they're laying you off, for the next 3 months, we at least got you covered. And there's a chance we continue after that. But like, look at this as like your 3 months kind of almost like working trial. And then they'll
Yeah.
be even more inclined to like really put the effort in. You could even put it as a trainer position. Like, hey, your expectation is that you have experience and you're training within 1 week.
For sure.
And then that way, even if you talk to Chris and be like, hey, do you want this position? Because like I'm willing to increase your pay, but you now are kind of on this more of a trainer pattern. It's not, I can't, I'm not really going to be pushing for winter work. Or do you want to stay where you're at? You're basically making that now on P for P, and then we'll make sure you stay into the winter. Just so that way he feels like if he sees the Indeed ad, that's where I've always gotten burned in this in the past.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, I wanted that position. Like, okay, like I should have offered that beforehand.
Yeah. I completely agree with that. I've seen that happen in the past too, that, just even if they don't want it, you got to make for sure everybody has the opportunity, right? So
Yeah.
cool.
I know it's not fun turning off ads, but I do think it's almost like I'd almost say that would be a good strategy anyways, because it's your first off season. The ability for you to really focus on trying to get 150 to 200 of the people to convert into winter services or like go into that next thing. I think that's
Yeah.
the difference between the next 4 or 5 months being very good versus just your fall. So
Uh-huh.
I would look at it as kind of like maybe a bit of a positive, getting your operational roots down for the next like month or so.
For sure. Yeah, that's going to be hard. I don't
I
like
know,
doing
I know,
that.
I
But
know.
I mean, it's just it's crazy like how much stuff is coming in, and I've honestly lost my ability to be as reactive as I can, and we've lost a few people. But I mean, there's still like I could put 250, 260 hours worth of work on the schedule every week, which is
So
a good thing.
there's two cool things. One is by turning it off for a little bit, we know we kind of need to just because of the operation and hiring. But like you also kind of get a test what happens when you turn off ads.
Very true.
Because sometimes you've gotten SEO to the point where now 50 to 60% of those leads still come in.
Yeah.
And then it's a good barometer for you going in next spring rush, have a little more capital set aside instead of spending it now anyways, when your customer acquisition cost is half as much to be able to, deploy that. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't look as a bad thing. Like it's so tough when you're growing that quick at any location. Like even the location down Mount Vernon when we went into profit mode, and then all of a sudden like 5 guys left, and that crew was only 6 people.
Yeah.
Um, we kind of had to go through the same thing. And it was like, okay, we turning off every new customers out. We raised prices way up on them just to focus, and then did the two strategies, like two new hires that were long term, lower pay, but two we went out and overpaid. I think we paid $28 an hour because our markets
Yeah.
were a little bit higher, and just said like, look, this is a 3 month stint, and you're a trainer. And the expectation they come in is like, okay, I do work for a week, but then I'm immediately training someone else.
And did they stay or did they take their
Honestly, I don't remember.
yeah, for
I
sure.
would if I had to guess, I would say at least one of them stayed, but I just don't remember. I wasn't the general manager, but I know that's how he pitched it. It's like, hey, the reason this is higher is because of this 3 month stint, and I know for a fact that if they would have stayed, they would have had to accept the fact that they're now on P
Well,
for P. The base pay is back down to a field team member.
for sure. Yeah, and just like from a conceptual thing, like just probably looking too far in the future, but when you think of a small team like that, how do you ever get it, or maybe you don't, like protect yourself from the fragility of, if you have 8 people supporting this much revenue and 3 leave, like you're in a tight spot.
Yeah, there's one is scale, right? So like when that happened, for example, immediately the Bellingham shop was contacting him and was like, "Hey, if you need a couple guys for a week or two, just let me know." And
Yeah,
so I think for like 3 days they sent two guys down to Mount Vernon. So there's part of it is just scale. And even though that individual location was struggling, you're able to then pull people from other spots. Same thing with general managers. Like if a general manager goes down, we've had it before where general manager just kind of covers for the other person for a second.
yeah,
I think you grow out of this stage because across even like the multiple locations, the ability to pool trucks, pool employees is useful.
for sure.
Yeah. It's just you're at that very critical stage of like you're growing, small team, and new
Yeah.
team members. Like whenever you have new team members with a bunch of growth, it's just operations always gets hit hard. It's so difficult. No one knows the properties. No one knows to talk to like the most senior person. It's just so hard to keep good quality.
Yeah. Yeah, and I still like to keep my finger on quality, and that also makes it hard too, because I feel like sometimes I've got to pump the brakes on how aggressive I am, just because I'm trying to protect the workforce we have too. So that's not a place I like to be in either.
And a lot of it is like going into next spring, you'll have all these reps of like seeing what a good team member looks like. And also, I think this exercise that I'm kind of pushing you towards will give you a really good balance of, okay, what happens when I do short-term trainers and like that is always my release lever. If I have to pull it, I can go to it if needs be, when a location is in hyper growth mode.
For sure.
And I've used this like even in North Carolina, we did the same thing. I went and got people that have been doing this for a long time. I told them I'm never going to be able to pay this flat rate per ever. But I'm going to have you for 3 months and I want you to train 4 people. Um, and like we would usually fill it. So it just depends on the time of year. We did find
Yeah,
it's very difficult to do that in the spring. But if it happened mid-year or like this time of year, it's usually you can find someone because you're just overpaying them essentially. And at least you know from day one you can put them in a truck and they'll at least do a decent job.
for sure. Cool. That's a great idea.
Cool. Well, I got to bounce my next meeting. I had
Okay.
a random cancellation. I was like, oh, I might as well make use of it. So
That was awesome timing. I appreciate it.
awesome, brother. You have a good one. Best of luck to you.
Thanks.